Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of This Old Deck. So for this particular episode we're doing a deck called Black Ice. Now long-term viewers of the series will know that I'm pulling most of these decks from two old Magic the Gathering deck building books, and a lot of the time they've been coming from one book in particular, but for this week I'm going to use the other book, and the other book is the official Deckbuilders guide. So the ones where I've mostly been taking them from have been a book called Deconstuction. So this is the other book. I'll include links to both books in the description so you can see what I'm talking about, and that list of sort of common resources appears in all of the descriptions of all the videos of this series anyway. So yeah, Black Ice deck. So I think what I'll do is I'll just rattle off like how many copies of each we've got in the deck and what's in the sideboard, and then I'll just explain the principle behind the deck. You'll probably get a feeling for what's going on here as we go through. It's a mono black deck essentially, but with a nice twist in it. So we have on our artifacts, so 10 in total. So there's 4 charcoal diamonds, 2 to cast, comes into play tapped. Tap it, add black to your mana pool, play this ability as a mana source. 3 Nevinaral's discs, so 4 to cast, comes into play tapped. 1 tap, destroy all artifacts, creatures and enchantments. So we've seen this in a lot of other decks around this time period. Oh, by the way, this in the official Deckbuilders guide comes from the section called Type 2, which in 1997, when this book was published, Type 2 is also known as Standard. So it was Standard as of 1997. We've got 3 Winter Orbs, 2 of those. 3 Winter Orbs, 2 to cast. Players cannot untap more than 1 land during their untap phases. So yeah, we're going to be sort of starved of mana here to some degree. Then the creature side of things, I don't think I did this right. Let me just put this in mana value. It's then a little bit easier to see, what this deck is doing. So we have 4 copies of Black Knight, 2 black to cast, first strike protection from white, 2 Fallen Ascari, 1 and a black with flanking. So whenever a creature without flanking is assigned to block this creature, the blocking creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Fallen Ascari cannot block, and that's a 2/2. So you can see here lots of 2/2s for 2 with additional abilities. 2 Fledgling Djinns, 1 and a black 2/2 with flying, but during your upkeep, Fledgling Djinn deals 1 damage to you, because it's unusual to have a 2/2 for 2 flyer. So there's got to be a downside, and this is a case when you look at a lot of mono black decks, mono black weenie decks, where you've got these. Some of the creatures are more powerful than you expect, but they have a downside which potentially puts you on a clock. And you'll notice a lot of mono black decks have that sort of downside where, yep, you're getting, pretty good creatures and other things that are happening, but there's something in the deck that's putting you on a clock. So you've got to get rid of your opponent somehow reasonably quickly, or at least like lock them down so you can do damage in ingenious ways. So we've also got 1 Knight of Stronghold, so 2 black for that particular card. Actually, there should be, I made a mistake here. That should be 2. Yeah, this I did a bit of a strange thing when I was putting this deck together in terms of the numbers. So I had to redo it. I don't know why when I reloaded it, it was wrong. But anyway, that's actually 2 copies of Knight of Stronghold. 2 black, 2/1, protection from white, single black, first strike until end of turn, double black, +1/+0 until end of turn. So it has this interesting fire breathing effect for 2 black. 2 Skulking Ghosts. So 1 and a black for a 2/1 with flying again. And if it's the target of a spell or effect, bury Skulking Ghost. So in blue, you often see this on illusions later on in Magic. As soon as you target them with a spell or some sort of effect, they blow up. We've got 4 Crypt Rats in here. 2 and a black, 1/1, X. Crypt Rat deals X damage to each creature and player. Spend only black mana in this way. 2 Dancing Scimitars. 4 to cast, it's a 1/5 with flying. 4 Necrotiles. 2 and 2 black, 2/1 with first strike. And when it comes into play, bury target non-artifact, non-black creature. So that would be effect, what, very similar to a Doomblade? I'm trying to think which would be a black spell similar to that. No doubt we will drill down through some of these, not all of the cards, but just some of them, to get a feel for maybe what sort of spells are on here. We've got 4 Dark Rituals, single black. We get 3 black back, so gives us a nice burst of speed when we need it. And then we've got 1 Karavek Spike. So 3 black to cast, sacrifice all permanents, discard your hand, target player loses 5 life. We've got a land base consisting of 3 Lotus Veils. So when it comes into play, sacrifice 2 untapped lands or bury it, but it taps for 3 mana of any one colour. 2 Quicksands, tap, add 1 colourless mana to your mana pool. Tap, sacrifice Quicksand. Target attacking creature without flying gets -1/-2 until end of turn. And then 17 Swamps. Just generate black mana. Also in the deck, we have these Drain Lives. So there are, as it says here, 2 of those. 1 and a black. X, Drain Life deals X damage to target creature or player. Spend only black mana in this way. Gain 1 life for each 1 damage dealt, but not more than the toughness of the creature or the life total of player drain life damages. Sideboard, we have 2 Funeral Charms, single black, choose 1, target player chooses and discards a card, or target creature gets +2/-1 until end of turn, or target creature gains Swamp Walk until end of turn. 3 Bad Moons, all black players get +1/+1, and that's 1 on the black. 3 Death Grips, 2 black, it's enchantment, pay 2, counter target green spell, play this ability as an interrupt. There's 2 more Drain Lives in here, which we've already seen, which is mainboarded. We've got a Winter Orb, so we can bump up our Winter Orbs. We've got an additional Neverandal's Disc, so we can bump up those. And we have 3 Glooms, so 2 and a black. White spells cost an average 3 to play. Activated abilities of white enchantments cost an additional 3 to play. So obviously when this deck was put together, the sideboard was very much designed with whatever the meta was at the time. So we have specific cards that deal with specific types of deck, but you can see some of these cards do that in other ways in terms of certain matchups by sort of rebalancing the number of Drain Lives and the number of Winter Orbs or Neverandal's Discs. If you're going up against an opponent that isn't playing black, then obviously you would want to put in the Bad Moons to increase your power and toughness on your creatures and so on. So yeah. And the Funeral Charm, just really nice utility card. You've got discard on it. You've got +2/-1. You've got Swamp Walk, modal spell. So yeah. So how does this all hang together? Well, I'm going to obviously borrow heavily from the book. I won't quote quite directly, and I'm trying to work out why I've got 61 cards here. But like I said, when I reopened this deck, I thought I'd fixed it, but yeah, it's not as simple as that. So let's have a look and see if we can spot where we may have gone wrong as we're going through. not that it matters. So 4 black knights, 4. In fact, let me do this by alphabet, and I can spot it a lot easier. It may be that the deck did have 61 cards in it anyway. That's quite possible. 4, 2, 2, 10. Interesting. 4 dark rituals. And yeah, so against the book it is actually correct. So I'm not sure. Oh, I see the problem. 16 swamp. Yeah, so 1 less swamp. That's better. Okay. Yeah, really odd. Don't know why it's been doing that. So it says here, black weenie decks have long been recognised as particularly nasty. I'll go along with that. Almost as fast at mana as green, black has the added benefit of a wide range of sorceries for land, library and hand destruction, reanimation, creature removal and so on. This has always made it a good choice for the more aggressive weenie decks. The danger with all weenie decks have is that they tend to lose steam quickly. They're extremely efficient during the early game, but card shortage leads to real problems. So what we've got in this deck to sort of help out is we have a winter orb here. So the idea is once your hand is more or less empty and your opponent is just starting to motor, you wait until they tap out or nearly tap out and you play the winter orb. And the idea is to sort of try and constrain your opponent more than you feel constrained. So again, it's looking at the board state and deciding the most fortuitous time to play the winter orb without locking yourself down, or not locking yourself down, but without slowing yourself down. So you can see here it's land. So having charcoal diamonds, and also the fact that the Lotus Veil, although we've got to bounce lands back to unplay it, once it goes online, we got 3 mana of any one colour. Now, obviously, with some of these cards, we do need 2 black mana, so you have to again be a little bit careful about how you choose to, untap your land up. It says players can untap more than 1 land during their untap phases, which means potentially you could decide to skip a turn and not use any mana, so you're not tapping down any stuff, and sort of build up your available mana till a certain turn as you're sort of putting out land. So you can do that to get around the problems. Now you'll also notice this, which is quite a high cost. It's a lot, sacrificing all your permanents, discard your hand, but if your opponent gets down to within this reach, then it's a useful card for the deck. But that's why there's only 1 of those, because you really want it late game when you're more likely to be able to play it. It's likely to be useful there, so that's what that's in the deck for. So with Winter Orb down, useful land will be in short supply. At that point in Type 2, there was with the Winter Orb down, which is restricting the amount of mana that a person can have access to without them sort of holding back a turn. It did mean that counterspell decks got a bit nerfed because of that. So So 2 mana a turn that Winter Orb can allow will pay for a good percentage of the critters at your disposal. Because if you think about what's happening, if you're putting a land down per turn, although it's only saying you can only untap more than 1 land, if you untap 1 from the previous turn, put a new land down, that means you'll have access to 2 mana. And if you look in this deck and look at the creatures, you're good up to here in terms of once that winter orb comes down. But as I've said, one thing you can choose to do is, as you're on certain turns, just choose not to play anything or pay any mana, and just wait until the following turn, build it up that way. And so it actually says here, a few turns of abstinence and a couple of dark rituals will more than amply pay for a large game-ending drain life. So that's where drain life comes in. So, you're looking for a point really in the game where you can whittle your opponent down without dying and get to a point where either you can finish them off with a drain life or the cover expite. And then, as I said, in certain matchups, you can rebalance all of this. So you can run more drain life, another Winter's Orb, another Never Isles Disc. I mean, that's a good way of, with this card, you're going to, reset the board, because it's going to blow up, all the artifacts, all the creatures, all the enchantments. Yeah, so a pretty interesting deck. Nice template for thinking about, mono black weenie decks, I think, generally, and thinking about what you could swap it out with. So let's just look at some of the individual cards. We'll go down a few little rabbit holes here and there. I'm particularly interested in these certain black cards in the deck, because they have interesting additional abilities on them. So of course this is good old Charcoal Diamond. I love this cycle of diamonds. It's been reprinted a few times, but I must admit I am very partial to the originals. Yeah, I have these. So yeah, nice cards. And then they were reprinted for Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate. I mean, they're nice as well, but I like the original stuff. Yeah, it's a mana rock. Worse than Cold Steel Heart, because that does, you get to choose the colour. So it comes into play tapped like a diamond does. But you can add 1 mana of the chosen colour that you've chosen. So 2 to cast as well. And then we've got Mox Jet, which is 0 to cast and tap to add black to your mana pool. So you can see why that's why Charcoal Diamond is worse than this. Also, you got things like Leaden Mere. So that these mirrors are well worth a look at as an alternative to the diamonds. They're artifact creatures. They come into play for 2. You can tap them for mana, but they're 1/1s. So yeah, but as a whole, I did a whole episode I think on mana rocks, so I won't go too far down there. If we look at Cube Cobra quickly, yeah, a lot of nice stuff here. Oh, this makes me very happy. Seeing all the classic stuff, synergistic wise. Oh, Cabal Coffers, of course. Yeah, a lot of good mono black stuff here. Oh, hours of fun. Right, Fledgling Gin. So this is interesting. I got 2/2 for 2 with flying. It's not been reprinted in paper. I mean, it is on the list. But there's this downside, so it's constantly pinging you for 1 at the beginning of your upkeep. So it's a pinger, but it's drawback pinger, and it's pinging you. So there are quite a number of drawback cards, and it does. I'm always amused by the ingenious drawbacks you get on black cards actually. So if I do, what would be ID 1, ID B, I think we'll do that. So mono black stuff, yeah. But again, lots of great ideas for mono black decks, depending on the downside, as to how much of a clock it puts you on. Double pit. Oh, look at these classics. Skulking Ghost from Mirage. And yeah, illusion ability without being called an illusion. Colour shifted Gossamer Phantasm. And references Skulking Knight. That has flanking on it. As evasion because of the flying. So the illusion ability. If we do this, we've been down this rabbit hole before, but worth taking a look at it, seeing how that's changed over the course of Magic's history. So you can see we've got Skulking Ghost here, and really we get up to this period, I think, where, you know, in the same way that we associate walls with Defender, is associating this with an illusion. But I believe there are some illusions which don't have this ability on them, which is interesting. So you can send some things like these which have the illusion ability on them but aren't illusions. And you can see, yeah, there's the original colour shifted version of that. These M12 ones are interesting because these cropped up in a, I don't know if you remember those decks they produced for a while that were one step up from intro decks, and they came with a sideboard. I can't even remember what they called them. Can anybody remember what they were called? But yeah, they went through a period. I don't know how many they printed in the end, but they were coming out per set, and they released one for a core set, and it was a mono blue illusions deck, and so these were in it. But I'm trying to remember, did they do two a set or just one? That's the trouble, I just don't remember very well. I should, because I featured them, I did quite a few unboxings when they were around, but yeah, I didn't think to dig them out for the episode because I never know what rabbit hole I'm going to go down. That's the trouble, so and always check. Yeah, you can see some more here where some either they're not creatures or they reference the illusion ability, but they aren't necessarily illusions. Yeah. I think that might be. Did Illusionary Servant crop up in the Jewels of the Planeswalker stuff as well? Not sure. Okay, Knight of Stromgold. I know we've looked at this before in the Deck Musing series, because it did start cropping up quite a bit, I think, in tournament decks. So Order of the Ebon Hand is where you may have seen something similar before. But it's interesting, it's the same abilities, but they've actually been flipped on the card. And then Stillmoon Cavalier. I had a copy of this because for some bizarre reason, I bought it for the No Hand, No Land episode. And I have no clue why. I just thought it was a cool card, I think. So I think I may have bought it to increase my order to get free shipping. Who knows? Order of the White Shield is the mirror image. Fire breathing, yeah. Which is something, you know, commonly you do tend to see on black creatures. Black, sorry. I mean red creatures. Yeah, or on cards that are giving it. But yeah, it's not unusual to see it on a black creature. It's a mana sink because you can just stick whatever amount of mana you've got in here to just buff that power more and more. I mean, there's no advantage in giving it multiple first strikes, but yeah. Order of the Ebon Hand. Doesn't this exist in multiple pieces of artwork? Yeah. Fallen Empires. So yeah, functional reprint from Fallen Empires, I suppose. Yeah. I do like that artwork. It's a pretty gnarly shield, actually. That's pretty cool. Yeah, there is some, I mean, as much as, you know, people like to hate on Fallen Empires and what's the other one? Homelands. There are some cards in here that make me smile. That's one of them. And one of them is particularly interesting in terms of, you know, creature subtypes, like groups of stuff as well. The Fallen Empire ones, I think, if I got it around the right way. It's interesting that it did actually, you know, it was in the Pro Tour collector set, so it was in tournament decks for the Pro Tour. Crypt Rats. So you've got, what's that, like, Sweeper on a stick. Yeah. Now, you can see here, Crypt Rat deals X damage to each creature and player spent only, so it's going to blow itself up. Oh, okay. Pestilence, there we go. So that's one, but that's just one damage. So yeah, I see what it's doing there, yeah. So that's enchantment. Sweep a creature burn, and there are a number of, how does that manifest itself in mono black generally then? It's interesting to see. Okay, 39 cards, right. There's a Crypt Rats reprint. What about creatures? What do you reckon? Oh, let's do that. It's not pure or plural, is it? It's creature. 10. Historically, by release date order and ascending. Gangrenous Zombies, of course. Kid Spectre, Crypt Rats, Thrashing Wampus. Oh, this one. How Pestilence Demon. Pestilence Demon? What non-creature spells is it on? Cyclonic Haze. There's a sorcery with it on, isn't there? Several, yeah. Invictus Justice with buyback. It's on Famine, isn't it? Yeah. Rancid Earth. Destroy target land. Oh, Threshold. Why did I not? Oh, I should have covered this on a no hand, no land. That's interesting. I mean, it doesn't really work with the theme, but even so, you can destroy a target land. Oh, you don't have any choice, do you? Instead, destroy that land, and Rancid Earth deals 1 damage to each creature. But could be an interesting sideboard card. And going up against, what was it? Go wide decks or whatever. Weenie decks. Token decks. Necrotal. Yes. Very nice, this one. And Necrotal Avatar, Nightshade Assassin, Removal Creature Destroy, Virtual Legendary. So removal creature destroy, and if we're thinking about type, you think you saw Doomblade did pop up there. So again, if we just do colour black, colour 1, so mono black is first printing. Annihilate. Sounds nasty. Oh yes, of course, Terror, Dark Banishing, all the classics. Expunge, Snuff Out, Vendetta, Execute, Death Bomb, Misery Charm, Rend Flesh, Rend Spirit. What a nice collection. Oh, Chill to the Bone, yeah. Strangling Soot. Do you remember that one? High Blight's ending's interesting. There's Doomglade. She Descend. And some of these are a little bit more effective, because as you probably noticed, if we go back to the creature version where it's stapled to the creature, where's it gone? There we go. Necrotal. So yeah, target non-artifact, non-black creature. And you know, some of the other, those instances were basically a little wider, so non-black creature or just any creature as well. And of course a lot of that's based on how much you've got to pay for it. And that is it sort of fear on a stick, terror on a stick? Yeah, but that can't be regenerated, so I'm just trying to think if there's one which is similar to terror without the regen. It just does the spell bit on the creature. Oh, yeah, so if I do, what's it, -0, I can probably just use regen because it's going to go for partial. And do instant. Oh, hang on. Yeah, no, I didn't want it to regenerate. That's it. Yeah, my mind's blank. I thought there was a card that did that. That did non-artifact, non-creatures, but didn't have regeneration on it. If anybody can remember, unless it's... Would it be more likely to be a sorcery? Maybe not. I don't know. I can't remember. Yeah, if anybody knows. Probably even missed it as I was going through. Okay, Caravex Spike. Namesake spell. Opponent loses life. Lots of those. Lots of that ones. Is first printing. I think is what we want. Yeah, loads. Oh, there's Pox and Ebony Charm. So if we're just interested in instants that do that, because there's going to be ones that are just a whole gamut of values. I mean, this is 5 life, this is 1 life, but it's a life exchange. It's like stuff of the past. And aren't there a number of... What's on the sorcery list? Exotic disease. Oh, that's it. Tendrils of agony. I remember that. Profane command. Sign in blood. Yeah. Lovely. Lots of lovely artwork there. Let me get it on. What creatures do we get it on? Yeah. Oh, highway robber, of course, yeah. Organ grinder. Guilt feeder. There's a few from Kamigawa block. Oh yeah, it's on Marilyn, isn't it? And Acolyte of Zathrid from M10. Oh, Bloodseeker. Yeah, there was quite a nice vampire deck from around this period. Chancellors of the Dross. Right, there's our Lotus Veil, which we have looked at in the past, but yeah, one of these adds multiple mana. I mean, in terms of with that, which is a land that do it. I mean, these have featured quite a bit in all my, deck related videos, but in case you haven't seen any of them before, find the usual suspects. So the Urza land, these interesting storage lands where you actually can remove like multiple storage counters, so they can, you can generate multiple mana on a turn if you want to. Now, you can, there's a way of putting storage counters on it. You may choose not to untap. Comes into play tap, you may choose not to untap, in this case Dwarven Hold, during your untap phase, and instead put a storage counter on it. Tap, remove any number of storage counters from Dwarven Hold. For each storage counter removed, add red, in this case your mana pool. Now the thing with this is, which is interesting, it doesn't blow itself up when it loses all the storage counters. Some lands that do that, when the storage counters go, or the depletion counters go, or whatever counts it's using, the land blows up, or you have to sacrifice it to get that speed burst, the case of these. But there's quite a number of lands around this time period in Magic which had a speed burst effect on them, which could be achieved in various different ways. And there's this one which does 4 black mana, it's Lake of the Dead. And then other things after that, like you get cards like the Karoo lands where they come into play tapped. You have to return a specific type of land to your hand as well when it comes into play. It has to be untapped. But then once they come online, they're doing a mana of the particular colour and colourless as well. So with the same principle as this reads, to some degree, this is 2 untapped lands, so you've got to get yourself in a bit of a position before you can actually, you're down a bit before you can go up a bit. And we get these other ones that scale off of other things. Here's the depletion counter ones where once they've got no depletion counters on them, then you have to sack them. And then some more storage counter ones as well. And then these, which are interesting, so they get another ones where you get a speed burst or a mana burst when you sack them. And I've done several I just said shoegaze shenanigans, several Scryfall shenanigans about these as well, and no doubt some of the ones you've seen here, which I haven't mentioned, I probably will end up doing a Scryfall shenanigans episode if there's a lot of a particular set which has multiple cycles at different rarity. But yeah, always cool to look at these lands. I never get bored with those particular types of lands, because once they come online and a number of them, you get quite a lot of mana generated. So drain life, okay, X damage target player spent, yeah. So yeah, worse than consume spirit. So consume spirit, spend only black mana on X. Consume spirit does X damage to target creature or player, and you gain X life. So it's worse than consume spirit because there's this guardrail on this one. You can't, but not more than the toughness of the creature or the life total of the player drain life damage. You notice with consume spirit, there's no guardrail there. It deals X damage to target criminal, and you gain X life. You can see there's a difference there in the, well, so it's 1 and 2 black and then X. We'll look at how this has been errated actually. So there's a whole load of drain life spells, 336. But if we were to look at this card in particular, you can see the templating here now looks more like the other one. Yeah. But I don't think, you can see that there's not beyond here. So 5th edition was the last time it was printed in a regular set. All the other like special editions, stuff like that. And then finally, this is a bit of a spoiler for an upcoming Scryfall shenanigans episode. So Ebony Charm was in the sideboard, I believe, if that's right. Yeah, so yeah, not Ebony Charm, Funeral Charm, this one, yeah, Funeral Charm is in the sideboard. So I thought it'd be interesting to bring up all the things with charm in them. There's 54. So I'm going to do a future Scryfall episode, probably in the next week actually. I've got this amazing shooting schedule now that's all, the next Scryfall shenanigans you watch after this one will be one on charms. So we're going to go through some Scryfall shenanigans with charms. So thanks once again for watching this episode of This Old Deck. Bye for now, and I will catch you in a future episode.